Good morning, boys and girls. I'm filming this chapter of Wayside School on Sunday night just because I have to run over to school tomorrow morning and I'm afraid I won't have time to do this first and have it up for you as you begin your school day. Remember, today, Monday, is the first day of graded assignments. So you want to log on to your Google Classrooms at some point today, tomorrow, I would say definitely, by tomorrow, and look and see what's expected of you. Each teacher is going to have different rules and what they want. I'm going to give you everything on Monday, and then you have till Saturday to work on it. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me. I will get back to you as soon as I can. Our office hours, the hours that I am at my computer ready, I'm touching my computer, to help you are from 9:30 in the morning until about noon, 12:30, okay? So usually if you reach out to me during those times, I'm pretty ready. Today being the exception because I have to go run to school, but it's going to interact. But I'll stay on a little later once I get home. Just remember, try your best. If you have any questions, reach out to that teacher that assigned the work. So you don't want to ask me about a question, something that Mr. Dixon assigned. You don't want to ask Miss Corrett about something I did, okay? You don't want to ask Miss Laracy about math. Ask that teacher. And if you're having any issues, just let us know. It is brand new for you. We've been working at it. We've been practicing. So hopefully you feel pretty comfortable with it. But it will take a little bit of time, and that's okay, okay? Nobody gets everything right the first time. Just doesn't happen, okay? So we're continuing Poetry Month. I have another classic. It's called A Recipe for a Hippopotamus Sandwich. Have you ever had a hippopotamus sandwich? Yeah, me neither. A hippo sandwich is easy to make. All you do is simply take one slice of bread, one slice of cake, some mayonnaise, one onion ring, one hippopotamus, one piece of string, a dash of pepper. That ought to do it. Now here comes the problem. Biting into it. You can see the bread down there and the bread on the top. Yeah. I don't think I'd ever care to have one of those. Chapter 9, something different about Mrs. Jules. She looks like she went a little wonky. Dinner's ready. The children returned from their Christmas vacation. On each desk there were 2 knitting needles and a hunk of yarn, like a ball of yarn. Today we are going to learn how to knit, said Mrs. Jules. She showed the class how it was done. See, you stick this needle through here, then wrap this around like this, then stick this here, and then pull this like this, and then you stick this here. Any questions? Everyone stared at her. Good, said Mrs. Jules. I want everybody to make socks. Okay, get started. Damien looked at his knitting needles. He didn't have a clue. He looked back at Mrs. Jules. Now, more than ever, he was sure there was something different. He was sure she was somehow different. She was sitting at her desk knitting and eating bolognios. Damien couldn't remember Mrs. Jules ever eating a bologno before. A bologno is an Oreo cookie, except instead of the white part, was a round hunk of bologna. Miss Mush invented them. Hey, Mac, whispered Damien. Does Mrs. Jules look different to you? She's fat, said Mac. That's not a nice thing to say, said Damien. I didn't say it to Mrs. Jules, said Mac. I didn't go, hey, Mrs. Jules, you're fat. Mrs. Jules cleared her throat as she stood up. She walked around the room. Very nice, TJ. You're doing fine, Rondi, she said. She stopped at Joe's desk. Oh, Joe, she gushed. Look, everybody. I want you to see Joe's sock. She held it up. Isn't it the most beautiful sock you ever saw? It was a great sock. Everybody oohed and awed. Joe was as surprised as anyone. He knew how to make socks, but the boy was born to knit. Means he was really talented at it. Mrs. Jules started to cry. I love this sock. Uh-oh, said Kathy. I think she's finally flipped out. I love you, Kathy, said Mrs. Jules. She looked around the room. I love all of you. She put her hand on Kathy's desk. I love this desk, she said. I love this blackboard. I love the clock on the wall. There was a ruler on the floor. Mrs. Jules picked it up. I love this ruler, she declared. Hey, That's mine, said Dana, but, that's okay, Mrs. Jules. You can have it. I don't want your ruler, Dana, said Mrs. Jules, handing it to her. You want my pair of scissors, offered Sherry. Don't give her anything sharp, warned Kathy. Mrs. Jules wiped her tears and smiled to the class. I'm going to miss you all so very much, she said. Are you going away? Asked Damien. Yeah, to the loony bin, whispered Kathy like she's crazy. Are you sick? Asked Eric Evans. No, I'm not sick, said Mrs. Jules. In fact, I'm better than I've ever been, she beamed. I'm going to have a baby, she gasped. Damien couldn't believe it. He was so happy he jumped out of his seat and hugged Mrs. Jules. Kathy was soon surrounded by all of her students, even Kathy wanting to hug her. I'm sorry, I have to go turn off the oven. Today is my last day here, said Mrs. Jules told her students. My doctor doesn't want me walking up and down the 30 flights of stairs every day. I wasn't supposed to come today, but I just had to come to say goodbye. There. I thought you were getting fat, said Nat, but I didn't want to say anything. Thank you, Max, said Mrs. Jules. That was very considerate. Can I touch your stomach? Asked Stephen. Mrs. Jules laughed. Sure, she said. The children took turns touching her stomach. What are you going to name the baby? Asked Allison. I don't know yet, said Mrs. Jules. What do you think? If she's a girl, said Allison, I think you should name her Rainbow Sunshine. That's a nice name, said Mrs. Jules. And if it's a boy, Buckethead, said Allison. She didn't like boys. If he's a boy, you should name him Jet Rocket, said Joe. Jet Rocket Jules, mused Mrs. Jules. That does have a nice ring to it. And what if she's a girl? Cutie Face, said Joe. Mrs. Jules laughed. So let me get this straight. She said, if it's a boy, I'll name him Buckethead. Right, said Allison and Rondi. And if she's a girl, I'll name her Cutie Face. Right, said Joe and John. Damien laughed. He knew Mrs. Jules was only joking. At least he hoped she was. Terrence placed his palm flat on Mrs. Jules' stomach. Hey, he exclaimed, that dude kicked me. Suddenly, Damien felt very sad. He was going to miss her a lot. He wiped a tear from his eyes. It's unfair, he shouted. We finally get to come back to Wayside School after being gone for so long, and now you're leaving us. I have to, said Mrs. Jules. I know, whined Damien. You have to make sure that you and the baby are healthy. But it still isn't fair. I think you'll like your substitute teacher, said Mrs. Jules. I spoke to him over vacation. He seems like a very nice man. A man? Damien asked. Cool. Yeah, they all thought it was pretty cool to have a man teacher. Yes, said Mrs. Jules. His name is Mr. Gorf. Uh-oh, that can't be good. So remember, log on to Google Classroom, which you are obviously in mine because that's where this video is. Check out your assignments. I will give you one a week for I don't teach reading. Writing, grammar, and science. Now, some might have more than one part. Just, do your best, okay? All right, love you, boys and girls. I will talk to you later. I will be on Monday afternoon to talk about those caterpillars. They're over there on the mantle. I can't lift them because two of them are on the top. I thought I was going to have chrysalises today. I think it was a little too cool in here. I opened the doors and the window a little bit so that the air could get in. As always tomorrow, right? All right, talk to you then. Bye.